to read to you to try to clear some stuff up, and then I'm going to turn the meeting over to our previous election board, and then Commissioner Herschel and I will finish out the meeting. So good morning again. Before we get into the election board meeting, I would like to take this opportunity to explain some actions that have been taken. I know we can all agree that there has been issues last year with the election process, and more specifically with the election board. The current commissioners have done an investigation on the election cycle of 2019. We know there were issues at polling places as well as at the election board meeting, advertisements, and minutes. First, the election process. We know that there was an issue with the poll pads and training. We have established new protocols for testing and certification of the equipment. Of course, this testing does follow the state and federal requirements and being done earlier in the process to ensure that no issues will exist. Training will be a major focus this year, which will include handouts and booklets for the poll workers. We'll also have an updated document at each polling place to outline not only the procedures, but also what to do if there is failure in the process. We are also working to have in place high school seniors that will be trained and sworn in to assist the judge of elections at each polling place. Training, of course, will be the big focus. With the election board, the first issue was meeting times and advertising. We realized that last year there was a lot of confusion with the way meetings were advertised and called. We'll tell you that moving forward, the meetings will normally follow the commissioners' meetings, just like today. Meeting is advertised. If in the event we need a special meeting, we will make sure that it's advertised in the local papers and that proper notice is given. The second issue of the election board is the process of recording the minutes during the meetings, following the proper protocol. As I say here today, I can assure you that the current Commissioner's Election Office and Election Board of 2019 apologize for the way the documentation was handled. Yes, minutes did not get documented in a reasonable time and errors were made in the documentation process. The process moving forward will require the chief clerk to prepare the agendas and take the minutes of the meetings. Once the meeting is done, the chief clerk will prepare the minutes and they will be reviewed by the board and the director to ensure accuracy. The minutes will then be approved in the next meeting. In addition, the video of the meeting will be posted separately. After our investigation, we determined that 3 different meetings throughout 2019, the minutes were never approved. That is being done today. We've also discovered that there were clerical errors in the recording of the minutes that were approved. Today's meeting will address those errors and properly document what took place in those meetings. Concern has been raised about the integrity of the minutes that were previously approved. Those meeting minutes are cast in stone and will not be changed. Rather, we will document today what actually took place in those meetings, and a copy of today's minutes will be attached to those records. As for the investigation that included the current commissioners, the election board of 2019, the election office personnel, and other personnel, we have taken the necessary steps to ensure this does not happen again by putting procedures in place and addressing personnel issues. As we move forward with the 2020 election, we are confident that the attention to detail and the focus on the process will result in a smooth election cycle. Thank you. I'm going to turn the meeting over to you folks.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to approve item number 1 on the agenda.
I make a motion to approve item number 1.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any questions or comments? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. The motion carries. Motion to approve, I'll entertain a motion to approve item number 2.
I'll make the motion.
I have a motion and a second.
I second that.
Any questions or comments? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. The motion is carried. I will entertain a motion to approve item number 3.
I'll make the motion.
Can I hear a second?
I second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions or comments? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the
I
same.
just want to ask, is the
Motion
public
carried.
able to make comments? When he says any comments or anything, the way he's addressing just you, your group, does that include the public?
Oh, yes.
That includes you.
Yes, it does.
Okay, because the way he's saying it, he's just looking at you, he's not looking at us, and not saying that we can speak also. I just wanted to reiterate
Would
that.
you like to make a comment there?
Not right now, but
Okay.
I wanted to make sure we could comment.
Okay, thank you.
So I think we completed item number 3, didn't we?
Said Gerald.
Oh, okay. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carries. I'll entertain a motion to approve item 4.
I motion to approve item number 4.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Any questions or comments?
First of all, you're approving motions and you're not even reading them. They're not even being read to the public and could be on tape and people can hear it. What kind of a motion?
They're
is
approving the
this?
minutes.
So there's a whole bunch of material here, and none of it is being read. He's just glossing over it, making it nice and quick and easy. You read everything before, why isn't it all being read?
Well, it doesn't have to be. I read it because you brought that to my attention a long time ago, that you wished the commissioners would do
Yeah,
that, so
well,
I was
bring it
honoring
down
your
to
wishes
Mr.
by doing
Peterson.
that.
Now
So
bring
just
it
what
to
is
Mr.
your, like,
Peterson.
motion by
Yes.
Gary to approve
Please
the
read
minutes of July
everything for
3rd,
the
All right.
seconded by questions, comments.
Okay.
Right, so number 5, please.
Okay, I'm going to rephrase that. I need a motion to approve item number 5, which would be approval of the minutes of the July 3rd, 2019 election board meeting.
I'll make the motion.
Or a second?
No, Nancy abstained. I was told you.
Oh, that was when she wasn't there.
You
Okay.
abstained,
Thank you.
okay.
All right, so I'll make the motion to approve the minutes of the July 3rd, 2019.
And I will make this.
He motioned it, you're seconding it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, he made the motion? I thought he was
I was
just reading
entertaining
it.
Oh, I'm sorry, okay, I'm sorry.
Sorry, I just
did
followed the
miss-
same
all right,
format.
You did, okay.
Okay.
So motion from Sarah, I'll second the motion.
Okay,
Any abstentions?
I'll abstain.
okay.
Questions or concerns?
Any questions or comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The same? Motion is carried. I'll entertain a motion to approve item 6, which will revise the actions of the election board meeting of 9/17/19, item H, to properly document what actually took place in the meeting as follows.
I'll make a motion
I'll
to
second.
approve.
Any questions or comments? All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, the same. The motion is carried. I'll entertain a motion to approve item number 7, which revises the actions of the election board meeting of 11/8/2019, items I and J, to properly document what actually took place in the meeting as follows.
I'll make the motion.
Second,
I'll second
I have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
that.
Opposed, the same. Motion carries.
Question and comment?
I'm sorry, questions or comments? Motion carries. Motion to approve item number 8, which revises the actions of the election board meeting of 12/4/19, items K, L, and M, to properly document what actually took place in the meeting as follows. All in favor, a motion, please?
I'll make a motion to approve item number 8.
I'll
Second. Questions or comments? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. The motion is carried.
Okay.
Where the ends are.
Yeah.
Number 9, I make a motion to approve the minutes of the January 22nd election board meeting.
I'll second that motion.
Questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
I make a motion to rescind the following motion of the January 22nd, 2020 election board meeting, items N, due to no votes were taken at the meeting. Questions or comments? All in
I'll
favor?
second
You second it?
that.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Number 11, I make a motion to rescind the motion of 1/22/2020 election board meeting. Item O is the motion and second were not done by sitting board members.
I will second that motion.
Questions or comments? All in favor? Aye. Number 12, I make a motion to rescind the motion of the January 22nd, 2019 election board meeting, as the motion was never voted on.
I will second that motion.
Questions or comments? All in favor? Aye. I make a motion to adjourn the, public comment. Yes.
First of all, who redid these minutes?
We all, it was a collaboration that we took their notes that they had, and we sat down and we discussed it and read the notes and we put together.
Are the notes available to the public?
No.
We would have to discuss that with
Interesting.
we would have to discuss that with our solicitor.
Excuse me?
We'll have to
We would
discuss
discuss that with our
solicitor.
solicitor.
You know, every
Wait a
time,
minute, notes from a public meeting have to go through the attorney. How much are we paying the attorney to review something that's public record?
Okay. 38,000,
Well,
okay. Not enough, he'll tell you not enough, I guess, yeah.
I have another question. How do we even know the meetings occurred?
I mean, if you take a look
We were here.
at the claptrap
If
that was
everyone
given
saw what these notes
before,
were,
they would know, the public would know, that this was a farce, this was a joke. Then to go back in and redo this, how much were these extra board members paid to do this? Was it a volunteer effort? Because I don't think so. And by the way, the other question I have is, where is Mr. Hall?
Mr. Hall is currently a delegate and running for a campaign, so he is not serving on the election board
He has to
currently.
serve on the board because the delegate is a party function, not a public function. So he should be here. Never mind that he excuses, recuses, I don't care what, he belongs here. He has no right to be on the commissioner's board and a member of the election board and say, I'm gonna remove myself from the election board. Who's gonna take his place? That's first. Second of all, why would I pay for that position twice? And the recusal from that board because he's running, that is a party position. That is not a public position, it's not a commissioner's position. So he does not have the right to recuse himself from that. I don't care what you say. Check the codes, go upstairs and check the law library upstairs in case nobody knows, and go into the election law and you will find that. You could check the election day digest and find it in there. So that's a baloney story.
On the
We're not,
election,
you know what, we're not that stupid, that's what I'm trying to say. This community is not that stupid. You pull
Thank
the
you.
wool over our eyes with these dopey minutes that a 5-year-old could figure out were just garbage. You sat there and you collected money for jobs you never did,
Okay,
and now we're being told this.
calm down, Edna, please calm down. Sue?
I asked this meeting, or this question during the commissioners' meeting, but perhaps it should really be addressed to the people on this committee. What are you doing to secure the integrity of the elections? I believe last time there were contested ballots that were not really secured. I was told, and this is just secondhand, that they were in a room where there was a bake sale going on and people were able to go in and out where these ballots were supposed to be secured. I also believe we should have I understand it's going to print out your ballot or the way that you vote on these machines, but I do believe that people should have the opportunity to have a paper ballot. I've been told that the governor doesn't agree with that, but I know I'm an older person. I know how to use a computer. I'm not really an expert at it, but I'm sure I can use a voting machine. I did choose to use a paper ballot last time. I live in Oakland Township. We had one person at one point in Oakland Township, in charge there. She told me someone else was supposed to be in charge previous to hers. That person got sick. She had never been trained on the machines. So I'm reading and listening to national news. I don't care what the commissioner said, that it won't
So-
happen in Pennsylvania. Baloney. Tell me what you're doing.
You can do a mail-in ballot, Sue.
I understand that,
Yeah.
I
So you
understand
can get the paper ballot and do the mail-in.
that. I understand.
And I think we'll have a lot
But
of
are the
that,
contested
actually.
ballots going to, or will there be any, when they're all machine generated? Will they be protected?
Everything will be protected. I can assure you that everything will be protected.
What do you mean by contested ballots? I guess that's where we need to
Well,
start.
ballots that a committee had to decide were, able to be counted.
Talking about the provisionals.
The provisionals, like, yes.
Provisionals. So,
provisionals are done. The election office investigates what is on the outside of the envelope. It is up to the board on return board day, the Friday following, to decide how they are going to be counted, if they are going to be counted, if there's grounds for them to be counted.
and it's the responsibility of the local election board that's out there to make sure that they keep those secure. That they're not just out on tables or floating around or, doing any of that. So it is the election board that's out there, they take an oath in the morning, they understand that that's part of their responsibility while they're out there to help, keep those secure and that's what they should be doing.
When I ran for township supervisor, I received a letter that said, it appears that you were, elected. I had no one running against me. Then after that, I got another letter saying you have been elected as township supervisor. How could I get a letter saying it appears when I had no one running against me? It makes no sense to me. What was the reason for that?
Were you on the ballot?
Yes, I was
That's a
out
good
there.
question.
And then there were other things that then I was fined, et cetera, et cetera. I hope all of this has been cleared up because it really did not give me faith in the democratic process.
Sorry, Susan.
Thank you.
I'd like to ask the election board a question. I don't know that it comes up in these minutes. As you know, at the time of the primary, Judy's nominating petitions were challenged, and we had to go to court. The court ruled that the petition was done properly, and she was restored to the ballot. Sometime later, I read in the Susquehanna Independent,
They want you to speak louder.
sometime later, I read in the Susquehanna Independent that an investigation had been carried out by your board, by you, and that you determined that the court had acted in error, and that in fact they were wrong, and she shouldn't have been restored to the ballot. I'm curious about where that investigation is documented, when it took place. We were never contacted. I was a witness at the court case. I was never contacted. No one in Judy's campaign was ever contacted.
Okay, so
And I'm just curious as to why you would make such a decision and how that investigation was carried out and by whom. And if you were right, why wasn't it referred to the DA?
So to speak on what's published in the Independent, that's not something that we can speak on, if you
I'm not asking you to
Right.
do that. I'm just
But
wondering
that
if that
the only-
story is accurate.
The only part of the investigation that we would have done would be that we had gotten the complaint, we reviewed the complaint as far as what needed to be done with it, and that's why it would have gotten forwarded onto the court, because that's not a decision that we as the election board could have sat there and made. That was a legal
No,
decision.
you're missing my point.
We never
You're missing
came
my
back
point.
and.
Was there an investigation, as the newspaper said there was?
That's what I'm telling you, is the investigation would have been the review of it, so we could see what the complaint was, to see if it was in fact something that we could take care of, but it was not. That's why it was forwarded to the court. There was not
No, I'm
another,
sorry. You're
there was
getting it
not
wrong.
another
There
investigation
was
that
no, there
happened
was no
after
The
that.
investigation
there was
I'm
no
speaking-
secondary
There was no-
All
investigation.
right. In
yeah.
other words, the newspaper had a false story.
I can't
I
speak.
can't speak
No,
on
no,
that.
but the point is that this newspaper.
The editor's right
But
here.
I'm not interested in the editor right now. I'm interested only in the commission, in the Board of Elections. It was publicly reported that subsequent to the trial, which Judy and the other candidates won, the Elections Board carried out an investigation and determined that the results of the trial were false. Am I right in understanding you to say that that's false? No such inquiry took place subsequent to the trial.
We did not conduct another investigation on that specific complaint.
In other words, what I'm saying is correct.
After, yes.
And
we
the
did-
newspaper was wrong.
I don't know what's in the newspaper, so
I understand
I
that.
cannot say if it was
I'm not
right or
asking you
wrong.
to speak for the newspaper.
Okay, so I'm speaking for the election board,
Right.
that a second investigation to that complaint did not take place.
Thank you.
If there
That
are
was
any
my question.
secondary complaints, then that would have been investigated, but after that, what was decided in the court is what was decided, and that's how it carried on.
Fantastic.
And I'm just gonna
The
have
other
to
thing I
address
wish-
it, that's an
The other point
inaccurate reflection of the
I wish to
story.
make is that the wording that Sue has just spoken about, it appears that you have been elected, is precisely the wording that is inscribed on the certificate furnished to the winning candidates. But the law says that your task is to certify that they have been elected, to make a decision. To say it appears is to render an opinion, not making a decision.
Jake, we'll have to look at that. I wasn't aware
You
of that, and we
should-
will
you
look
should look
into
at
that.
that.
Thank you for bringing it to our attention, and we'll
All right.
look into
Yeah, I'd
that.
just like to speak to that. I found my election certificate from 1991, and it says appears.
Oh, it does?
1991.
Well, there you go. So
So
we'll,
like you've never changed it in 20 years.
all right, well, we'll have to look into that and check on that. All right, thank you for bringing that to our attention.
I certainly can understand why it would say it appears, because there could be a write-in vote that would overwhelm the personal. There could be. I
Could
didn't
be.
say there was,
There wasn't.
but, it has happened. So just because you were the only name on the ballot doesn't mean you won.
No, but the point is that the certificate is supposed to determine
No, I know.
who won.
After he's done.
Oh, yeah.
The certificate says it appears. That's not a determination.
Which, and I think the
Okay.
board
But then
decided
it's
that they're gonna look
We'll
into
look into
that.
it.
And it said
Right,
you won
yeah.
elected.
Easy fix,
It's
yes.
an easy fix.
All right. All right, can I get a motion to close the meeting?
No.
No, okay.
I have a question.
Yes, Bruce.
When you consult with the attorney to ask the attorney whether the public can see the original minutes, which we already have because we had to go through right to know law,
Yeah.
will they be cast in stone or just this?
I'll have to discuss that with
No,
Lee.
no, as you read in the letter, the ones that are in stone will stay, and these will go with it to show what had been original, and then what was
So you will have the fiasco on page 1 and the remedy on page 2?
Correct.
Everything will be in the book.
correct.
Yeah. Edna?
Did you see that?
How many people
Okay.
involved in this redo were paid to do it?
We weren't paid to do the revision.
We've covered this. No, it was us. It was us. Colleen?
Just a question on, like, when you guys do these, and I have no idea about it, I'm kind of new to all of this, so bear with me if I sound stupid. When you do these, I'm assuming that when you guys are running for election, you can't be a part of the boards, which you normally are.
That's right.
When you can't do that, is there some kind of a training that they should have gone through maybe to make sure that these motions and minutes should have been, properly addressed?
It's a really good question. I don't believe there is a training, is there? No.
Can we address that?
Yes,
So
we
that it
will.
doesn't happen again, there'll be some kind of training so that everybody.
It's a great idea.
It has been.
Yep.
Yep.
We're gonna. Yes, Vera?
Yes, I would just like a clarification and a reiteration of why Alan isn't here. Am I understanding correctly that he went to a meeting as a delegate for the Republican Party?
No.
What's this delegate
He's
thing?
running on the ballot.
He's running on the ballot, so he's not going to be on the election board, so he,
There is no reason for him not to be on that board. And you can
You said
take
that.
that up
Okay.
with your
All right.
solicitor.
we will.
And if he has
Thank
a
you.
problem, he can look here.
Okay.
I'll volunteer to lend this to you, you
Okay.
can't have it. And there's 2 volumes upstairs
That's
on
great.
election law. You're free to go. We paid for it already. They're up there.
Thank you,
This
Edna.
is it. This is a complete,
Thank you.
this is malpractice. This is absolutely,
Thank you, Ellen.
what a display of ineptitude on every single person that sits up there.
Edna.
And that includes.
Edna, tone it down, please. All right, can we get
There's a
a,
new edition of all those books
there's a new edition of those books, by the way, Macy wanted you to know.
that are gonna be coming out.
Everyone
Are
else
we
is
able
out there.
to find out who the people were that made the complaints about our petition, the whistleblowers, so to speak?
Eric Chairman.
Pardon me?
I'm not sure. I don't know if that's public record.
Well, anyway, can we get the names of the people that complained about our petitions and then we had to pay fines? I would not be able to be seated by Oakland Township unless I paid my fines about my petitions. I would like to know who lodged the complaints against us. Can
We'll
we
have to get
find that
back to you on
out?
that. I'll get back to you on that. We'll look into that.
Okay, thank you.
One more question. There's a new edition of this?
Yes, it's
Well,
on its way.
my suggestion, because I know it's not gonna be taken up, but I'm gonna make it anyway. Every single voting board should get a copy, every single member, before you come for training and before you sit on that board. Because this is the Bible, as far as I'm concerned, with what goes on there. And I also say that members of the voter registrar, assistant registrar, read it before you send it out to us, because there are so many things in here that I had problems with. That was when we had paper ballots. And I don't know what's gonna happen with the machine ballots, but I think everybody who's involved in the voting process should have this information. And by the way, since we paid for it, the public should have it too.
We have
Okay.
ordered enough to replace for every member of the boards at all polling locations, enough for all of us in office to have copies, and enough for copies to the public if they request them.
Right, but
Okay.
they need to be presented to us before the election takes place, so that we can digest these. I think there's 38
When they
pages
come in for
of
training, can't they have it
information,
then?
and have it
She wants them
beforehand.
handed out before training.
Okay, all right, got it. Thank you, Edna. We'll take that all under consideration.
I'm sorry, I just have one more question. When you're talking about the polling boards and the training at the facilities for the machines themselves, I remember when I went in, of course, I didn't go before and get any of the training at the Hartford Fair or wherever they were allowed. because there's probably gonna be other people that were like me and just walk in, is there gonna be a machine set up so that somebody can walk them through the whole thing? Because when I sat down, she started to, go over how it was done with me. But I was a little bit surprised about the way some of the questions popped up, and I did end up having to go back because I thought it was wrong. And it didn't turn out to be wrong, but it was kind of confusing even for me, so I'm thinking an elderly is gonna need to go through the whole process before she can actually sit down at the machine and fill it out and feel confident with it.
Okay, well, just so you know, we are gonna have them at the Hartford Fair again this year in the Republican and Democratic booths. And we're also gonna have them at Ag Day, if any of you go to Ag Day, like 600 people go through Ag Day. And we're gonna have a table, Macy's gonna be down there with a table and a machine set up. And we're gonna have them in the libraries this summer, so we're gonna, have them out there in the public as much as we can to get people acquainted and comfortable with, what's that? And it's always here in the office. She's got one set up in here, so you can come right in here and she can show you. Okay? All right, may I get a motion to close the meeting now?
I'll make a motion to close the meeting.
I'll second that motion.
10:27.
All in favor? Aye. Thank you for coming, everyone.